They fired 6 coaches in Dallas a week ago today. 6. Off a team that won 12 games and a team that had a lot of injuries. Then on Sunday, they hit the eject button on Kellen Moore and the quarterback coach, Doug Musmeyer. Don't understand why. So that's 8 coaches off Mike McCarthy's staff. So I guess the question that I pose, did Jerry Jones go to Mike McCarthy after they got knocked out of the playoffs and say, you will make changes? So none of the assistant coaches who played an integral role in the success that they've had in the last couple of years in Dallas keep their job, and yet the head coach stays? I mean, that's like throwing guys overboard to lighten the boat so the boat that you has a hole in it doesn't sink.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. McCarthy's going to call all the plays now, replacing Kellen Moore. But McCarthy did that in Green Bay, and it turned into a fiasco. So I just think this is a knee-jerk reaction. I can't believe they've blown up that staff. They've had a good run. And much like I would say the same thing about what happened to Kellen Moore getting fired as offensive coordinator. Is it his fault they lost the Pro Bowl left tackle Tyron Smith? Then they lost their center. Then they lost their guard. How is that Kellen Moore's fault? How is it Moore's fault that Michael Gallup never fully recovered from knee injuries? And yeah, they had CD Lamb, but they didn't really have anybody else to catch the football. And how is it Kellen Moore's fault that Ezekiel Elliott woke up this year and looked like an old man? He's not the power back. He's now become a situational short yardage back. And how is it Kellen Moore's fault that Tony Pollard blew his knee out at the most important time of the year and the biggest game of the year, and they wound up losing? So I guess the point I'm trying to make is, we're a team. And if things go bad, as a team, we got to get it back the way it used to be. But you don't walk over and start throwing guys overboard because things went bad for a bad season. That looks bad. But maybe it's the new way of life in the NFL, because we saw Tampa Bay, they fired 9 assistants. And we look at some of these other places in the league that have just been blowing guys out by bunches. Atlanta on Saturday night fired its entire defensive staff, even though Arthur Smith stays as the head coach. And Miami, Minnesota, Rams axed 6 guys. And if they lose another coordinator to a head coaching job, it'll be 8 guys off the staff from Sean McVay's team that was in a Super Bowl a year ago this week. Maybe it's a new way of doing business, but I think it's really cheap, because these coaching staffs are family, and you start opening the door and telling family members to leave because we had a bad season. So I totally disagree with what they've done in Dallas.
Yeah, it's hard to build continuity in your program where there's constant upheaval and people looking over their shoulder, wondering if they're the next guy to be fired. That's got to be tough. But with all these teams blowing out all these coaches, it's got to be this giant game of musical chairs, right? Because they're all going to kind of shuffle the deck and they're going to rearrange. And those Atlanta coaches will probably end up with Dallas or the Rams or somewhere else, right?
Yeah, but it is odd that guys that were finalists for head coaching jobs a year ago and were hot candidates are unemployed. I mean, Byron Leftwich was really regarded in Tampa, and he was one of 9 that got taken out by Todd Bowles. So it's just a really ugly story right now in the NFL. In modern day NFL, I can't remember a year where we've had so many name assistant coaches lose their jobs on staffs while the head coach is still retained. I don't ever remember seeing this mass number of bodies in this assistant coaching bloodbath. Maybe the way the league is doing business is going to change. That's the storyline.
It's like it's upside down,
That's the storyline in Dallas.